The sound of laughter echoed across the backyard, but it wasn't the warm kind. It was the kind that had edges, sharp and mean, designed to cut. Evelyn Marston stood at her kitchen sink, hands submerged in sudsy water, scrubbing at a casserole dish. Through the window, she could see them, her son, Caleb, his wife, Vanessa, and Vanessa's friends from Atlanta, all dressed in clothes that cost more than Evelyn's monthly grocery budget. They sat at the picnic table her late husband Walter had built 30 years ago. The wood was weathered now, but still solid, still strong, just like Walter had been. "Honestly, I don't know how you stand it," one of Vanessa's friends said, loud enough to carry through the screen door. "This house is so... I mean, it's charming in an antique sort of way, but living here?" Vanessa laughed, that musical, practiced laugh she used when she wanted to seem sophisticated. "It's definitely not what I'm used to," she said, with fake sweetness dripping from every word. Evelyn's hands stilled in the dishwater. "At least it's temporary," another friend chimed in. "Eventually you'll get your own place, something modern, something that doesn't smell like old people and mothballs." More laughter. Evelyn watched her son examine his shoelaces like they were the most fascinating thing in the world. He didn't defend her. He didn't say a word. "The worst part is the cooking," Vanessa continued, her voice carrying that edge of condescension. "Everything's so heavy. Butter, cream, sugar. It's like she's trying to give us all heart attacks." The blonde friend leaned in, voice dropping to a stage whisper. "Is it true she doesn't have any money? Like, at all?" Evelyn's chest tightened. "Oh God, completely broke," Vanessa said with exaggerated pity. "Walter was just a carpenter, not exactly successful. This house is falling apart. The car she drives is from 2005. She paused for effect. "Maybe if your mum weren't so broke and useless, we wouldn't have to handle everything ourselves." The words hung in the air like smoke. The casserole dish slipped from Evelyn's hands, clattering against the sink. Through the window, she could see Vanessa's friends nodding, their sympathy looking more like smirks. And Caleb said absolutely nothing. Something inside Evelyn cracked, not loudly, just a quiet fracture, like ice breaking on a frozen pond. She dried her hands on a dish towel and walked to the back door. All heads turned. "More sweet tea, anyone?" she asked, her voice warm and pleasant. Vanessa's smile was pure sugar. "Oh, we're fine, Evelyn. Thank you, though." "Well then," Evelyn said calmly, "I think I'm going to head out early. I just remembered I have to drop off some preserves at the church." "Oh, leaving so soon?" Vanessa asked with false concern. "We were just talking about you." "I heard," Evelyn said quietly. The smile on Vanessa's face flickered. Evelyn collected her purse and walked to her 2005 Honda Civic. She sat behind the wheel for a long moment, hands shaking, broke and useless. She drove through Savannah on autopilot until she found herself parked beside a massive construction site. A huge sign stretched across the entrance. "Future site of Ocean View Luxury Estates. Opening Spring 2026. Evelyn stared at that sign, then reached into her glove compartment and pulled out a folder. The letterhead read, Coastal Development Corporation. "Dear Mrs. Marston, we are pleased to confirm our final offer of $2 million, $2,000,000, for your property at Lot 847. Walter had bought that worthless land 45 years ago for $3,000. Everyone had called him crazy. A single tear ran down her cheek. She'd spent 3 months trying to decide what to do with this fortune. Vanessa had just made the decision for her. Evelyn pulled out her cell phone and dialed. Holloway and Associates. Grant Holloway speaking. Grant, Evelyn said quietly but steadily. It's Evelyn Marston, Walter's widow. I need your help with something urgent. It's about my estate and my son. What do you need? His voice shifted. Professional now. I sold that coastal property Walter bought. They paid me $2 million 3 months ago. Grant whistled softly. Evelyn, that's incredible. What do you want to do with it? I want to protect it, all of it. I want to make sure it goes to someone who will appreciate it, someone who still knows how to love without conditions. What about Caleb? Caleb needs to learn that silence in the face of cruelty is its own kind of cruelty, Evelyn said firmly. I'm thinking about a foundation. For my granddaughter Lila. She's 8 years old, and she still tells me I smell like cookies and sunshine. A foundation would protect the assets completely. No one could touch it. How fast do you need it? Evelyn thought about Vanessa's voice, broke and useless. Fast, she said without emotion. I have a feeling things are about to change. I can have paperwork by Monday, but Evelyn, are you sure? Once we establish an irrevocable foundation, there's no changing it. Caleb won't see a penny. Evelyn closed her eyes, seeing Caleb as a little boy holding her hand. I'm not doing this to hurt him, she said quietly but powerfully. I'm doing this to save what's left of him. Money won't fix what's broken in my son. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone you love is let them fall. She hung up and sat watching the construction site fade into darkness. You were right, Walter, she whispered. That land mattered. When she arrived home, the house was empty. She made tea and sat at her kitchen table. Her phone buzzed, a text from Vanessa. Sorry we missed you. Caleb and I need to talk to you about something important soon. Maybe Sunday dinner? Something important. Evelyn stared at that message for a long time. Then typed, Sunday dinner sounds lovely. I'll make a roast. See you at 6. Outside, the magnolia trees rustled in darkness. She wasn't broke. She wasn't useless. And she definitely wasn't finished. In fact, she was just getting started. 45 years ago. Young Evelyn stood in their tiny kitchen, one hand on her swollen belly, the other holding a checkbook that showed exactly $217. Walter came through the door, eyes bright with excitement. Evie, I did something today. Her heart sank. What kind of something? I bought us some land. He was grinning like a child on Christmas morning. Land? Walter, we're having a baby in 3 months. We needed that money for... I know, he said, taking her hands gently. But Evie, listen to me. Nobody wants this land now. It's just scrubland by the coast. But trust me, darling. Someday this will matter. Someday our boy will thank us. Evelyn wanted to be angry, but Walter's eyes held such certainty, such hope. How much? She asked quietly. $3,000. Everything we'd saved. She should have yelled, should have cried. Instead, she touched his face and whispered, I trust you. Present day. Evelyn sat at her kitchen table at 3 a.m, unable to sleep. Spread before her were documents, letters, offers, a paper trail of Walter's impossible dream coming true. The first offer had come 2 years ago, $500,000. She'd said no, sensing there was more to come. The second offer, $1 million. Still, she waited. The final offer, 3 months ago, $2 million. She'd signed the papers in a lawyer's office downtown, hands shaking as she wrote her name. The money hit her account a week later. She'd stared at that number on her computer screen for an hour, unable to process it. Walter's worthless Land, the investment everyone had mocked. The purchase his own brother had called the dumbest decision Walter ever made. $2 million. Evelyn pulled out a photo album, fingers tracing images of her life. Walter building their home, board by board. Young Caleb taking his first steps in their backyard. Family dinners, church picnics, birthdays, Christmases. Then the wedding photos. Caleb in his suit, beaming. And Vanessa, beautiful, polished, her smile perfect for the camera, but somehow empty. Evelyn had known, even then, the way Vanessa looked at their modest home with barely concealed disgust. The way she'd suggested they have the reception somewhere nicer than the church fellowship hall. The way she'd whispered to her mother, "Don't worry, we won't be living like this for long." But Evelyn had said nothing. Caleb loved her. That should have been enough. She flipped to more recent photos, Lila's birth, her baptism, her first day of school. In every picture, Lila was hugging Evelyn tight, genuine joy on her small face. "Grandma, you smell like cookies and sunshine," Lila had said just last Sunday, burying her face in Evelyn's shoulder. That's when Evelyn knew. The money wouldn't go to Caleb. It couldn't. Vanessa would devour it like a shark tasting blood. She'd spend it on designer clothes and luxury cars and whatever else fed her endless hunger for more. But Lila, sweet Lila, she still had a chance. Evelyn opened her laptop, the old one Vanessa always mocked as ancient technology, and began researching. Trusts, foundations, estate planning, asset protection. She read for hours as dawn broke over Savannah. By the time the sun was fully up, she'd made her decision. Not a simple trust. A foundation. Something permanent, protected, untouchable. Her phone rang. Grant Holloway. "Evelyn, I've been thinking about our conversation. A family foundation is complex, but it's the strongest protection available. No one can contest it, challenge it, or claim undue influence if we structure it correctly." "How long?" she asked firmly. 2 weeks for complete documentation. But I need to know. Are you absolutely certain? Once this is done, it's permanent." Evelyn looked at the photo of Caleb at the barbecue on her phone. The way he'd looked at his shoes while Vanessa destroyed his mother with words. "I've never been more certain of anything," she said without emotion. "Then let's do this right. Come to my office tomorrow. We'll start the paperwork." After they hung up, Evelyn sat in the growing light, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Power. Not the cruel kind Vanessa wielded. The quiet kind. The kind that came from finally putting herself first. Her phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. "Mum, Vanessa and I are coming over Sunday. Around 6. We really need to talk to you about something." Evelyn stared at that message. Need to talk about something. She could guess what. She'd seen the foreclosure notice on their counter last time she visited. She'd heard Vanessa on the phone, voice panicked, talking about missed payments. They were coming to ask for help. Maybe money. Maybe a place to stay. And the old Evelyn, the one who existed before the barbecue, would have said yes immediately, would have given them everything. But that Evelyn was gone. She typed back. 6 o'clock is perfect. I'll make your favorite pot roast." Then she opened her email and wrote to Grant. "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Let's protect my granddaughter's future." She hit send and felt Walter's presence beside her, almost physical. "I kept your land safe for 45 years, she whispered to the empty kitchen. "Now I'm keeping our legacy safe from people who'd destroy it. I hope you understand, my love. I hope you're proud." Outside, the magnolia trees Walter had planted swayed gently in the morning breeze, their blossoms just beginning to open. Evelyn made herself coffee and watched the sunrise, feeling something shift deep inside her chest. The quiet old lady was learning to roar, and nobody, not Vanessa, not even Caleb, would see it coming until it was far too late. 2 weeks passed. Evelyn met with Grant 3 times, signing documents, establishing the foundation, protecting Lila's future. Everything was filed, recorded, made permanent. The foundation was active. The money was untouchable. Evelyn had never felt more at peace. Until Sunday arrived. She'd made pot roast, just like she promised. The house smelled like home. Rosemary, garlic, the warmth of something slow cooked with love. She'd even baked an apple pie, Caleb's childhood favorite. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 o'clock. Evelyn opened it to find her son looking like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. His eyes were hollow, his shoulders slumped. Behind him, Vanessa wore workout clothes, designer, of course, and an expression that somehow managed to be both desperate and entitled. "Hi, Mum," Caleb said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Come in, sweetheart." Evelyn hugged him, feeling how thin he'd gotten. "Dinner's almost ready." "Where's Lila?" Evelyn asked. "With my mother," Vanessa said, her tone clipped. "We needed to talk to you alone." They sat at the dining table, the same one where Evelyn had fed Caleb breakfast every morning for 18 years. She served the pot roast, watching them push food around their plates. Nobody was eating. "Mum?" Caleb finally said, unable to meet her eyes. "I need to tell you something. I should have told you weeks ago, but I was ashamed." Evelyn waited, her face calm. "I lost my job." The words came out broken. "They downsized my whole department 6 weeks ago. I've been looking for something new, but nothing's come through yet." "Oh, Caleb." Evelyn reached for his hand. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm 35 years old, and I should be able to handle my own problems," he said, voice cracking. "I should be taking care of my family, not running to my mother like a child." Vanessa cut in, impatience sharpening her voice. "The point is, we're in serious financial trouble. Our house is in foreclosure. The bank gave us 60 days. We've tried everything. Selling things, cutting expenses, borrowing from friends. Nothing's enough." She looked directly at Evelyn, her eyes calculating despite the tears forming there. "We need to move in with you," Vanessa continued, fake sweetness coating every word. "Just temporarily, until Caleb finds a new position. We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate." Evelyn sat very still. This was the moment she'd known was coming, the moment she'd prepared for. The old Evelyn would have said yes instantly, would have opened her home, her heart, her wallet without a second thought. But she remembered, broke and useless. She remembered Caleb's silence. She remembered Vanessa's friends smirking while her daughter-in-law destroyed her. "How long do you think you'd need to stay?" Evelyn asked quietly. "Just a few months," Caleb said hopefully. 3, maybe 4. I've got interviews lined up. Something will come through. I promise, Mum, we won't be in your way." Vanessa was already pulling out her phone, probably texting her mother the good news before Evelyn had even answered. "You've got all these empty bedrooms," Vanessa added, her voice taking on that condescending tone Evelyn knew so well. "And honestly, Evelyn, it would be good for you to have people in the house. At your age, living alone isn't really safe." At your age. Like Evelyn was decrepit, helpless. Evelyn looked at her son, really looked at him. She saw the man he'd become under Vanessa's influence. Weak where he'd once been strong. Passive where he'd once been principled. A shadow of the boy Walter had raised. Part of her wanted to say no. wanted to protect her peace, her home, her space. But another part, the part that had been planning, preparing, protecting, knew exactly what to do. "Of course you can stay," Evelyn said calmly. Caleb's face flooded with relief. "Mum, thank you. Thank you so much. I promise." "Family takes care of family," Evelyn said, echoing the words Vanessa had used at the barbecue. Vanessa smiled, a victorious smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was already typing furiously on her phone. "We can move in this weekend," Vanessa said, not asking. "I'll arrange for movers. Don't worry about anything. We'll handle all the logistics." "That's very thoughtful," Evelyn said without emotion. After they left, Vanessa practically skipping to the car, Caleb still looking broken but relieved, Evelyn stood at her window and watched them drive away. Through the glass, she could see Vanessa on her phone, laughing. Even from here, Evelyn could read her lips. "We're in." Evelyn pulled out her phone and texted Grant. "They're moving in this weekend. Everything's still protected, correct?" His reply came immediately. "Foundation is active and filed. Property transfer recorded. All documentation complete. You're fully protected. They can't touch anything." Evelyn allowed herself a small smile. She'd said yes because she wasn't cruel. Because despite everything, Caleb was still her son. Because Lila deserved to be near her grandmother. But mostly, she'd said yes because the best trap is the one people walk into willingly. She looked at the photo of Walter on the mantel, his kind eyes, his gentle smile. "They think they're moving in temporarily," she whispered to his image. "They think this is charity. But what they don't know is that every day they spend under this roof, they're building the case for their own downfall. Sometimes, my love, you have to let people show you who they really are. And I'm going to give Vanessa every opportunity to do exactly that." Outside, the magnolia trees rustled in the evening breeze. The storm was gathering, and Evelyn was ready. The moving truck arrived Saturday morning at 7 a.m., 3 hours earlier than Evelyn expected. She was still in her bathrobe, coffee cup in hand, when she heard the backup beeping and the sound of heavy footsteps on her porch. Vanessa burst through the front door without knocking. "Movers are here. We need to get started. Lots to do." "No. Good morning. No. Thank you for opening your home. Just commands." Evelyn watched from the kitchen doorway as men carried in box after box, designer furniture, Vanessa's exercise equipment, racks of clothes still in dry cleaning bags. Boxes labelled Vanessa's office and Vanessa's craft supplies and Vanessa's seasonal decor. "Where do you want the couch?" a mover asked, gesturing to Walter's handmade sofa, the one he'd built from scratch, every joint carefully measured and fitted. "Oh, that old thing?" Vanessa waved dismissively. "Put it in the garage. We'll donate it later. This is our couch now." "Wait," Evelyn said firmly. "That couch was—" "Trust me, Evelyn. Our couch is so much better. Yours is practically falling apart." Vanessa's voice dripped with fake sweetness. "You'll love the upgrade." The movers looked uncomfortable, glancing between the two women. Caleb appeared, carrying boxes. "Mum, maybe we should—" "It's fine," Vanessa said, her voice sharp as a knife. "It's just furniture. No need to get sentimental about every little thing." Evelyn watched Walter's couch, the one where she'd nursed Caleb as a baby, where they'd read bedtime stories, where Walter had held her hand during his last days, get carried to the garage like trash. She said nothing, just watched, just remembered. By noon, Vanessa had rearranged the entire living room. New couch, new coffee table, new lamps. The family photos Evelyn had displayed for decades were temporarily stored in boxes. Much better flow, Vanessa announced to no one in particular. More modern, more open. Then came the bedroom situation. Caleb and I will take the master, Vanessa declared, already directing movers upstairs. Lila needs the room next to us. You don't mind taking the small bedroom at the end of the hall, do you, Evelyn? You really don't need all that space at your age. Evelyn's bedroom. The room she'd shared with Walter for 40 years. The room where he'd died in her arms. The room filled with their memories, their life, their love. That's my bedroom, Evelyn said quietly but powerfully. Was your bedroom? Vanessa corrected, her condescending tone on full display. But honestly, one person in that big master suite is wasteful. We're a family of 3. We need the space more. You understand, right? Caleb stood in the hallway, boxes in his arms, looking at the floor. Caleb? Evelyn looked at her son. He shifted uncomfortably. Mom, maybe it makes sense. Just while we're here, our furniture won't fit in the smaller rooms. And there it was, the moment her son chose his wife over his mother. Again. Of course, Evelyn said calmly. Whatever you need. Vanessa beamed. See? She gets it. Thanks, Evelyn. You're a saint. Evelyn packed her things slowly. Walter's photos, her clothes, the jewelry box he'd given her, the quilt his mother had made. She carried everything to the smallest bedroom, the one that had been used for storage. It had one window overlooking the backyard, Walter's magnolia trees visible in the distance. It would do. By evening, the transformation was complete. Evelyn's home looked like a completely different house. Modern furniture. Vanessa's taste everywhere. The warmth replaced with cold, contemporary style. Vanessa was in the kitchen, Evelyn's kitchen, rearranging everything. These pans are so old, Vanessa said, pulling out Evelyn's cast-iron skillets. When's the last time you replaced these? The 90s? She tossed them in a box. We'll get you new ones. Those belonged to my mother, Evelyn said without emotion. Well, they're not safe for modern cooking, trust me. Vanessa threw away spices, rearranged cabinets, took over the entire space. New house rules, Vanessa announced during dinner, takeout she'd ordered without asking Evelyn. I'm doing meal prep on Sundays. We eat clean here. Lean proteins, vegetables, no processed foods. Your southern cooking is delicious, Evelyn, but it's not exactly heart-healthy. She smiled that smile, the one that pretended to be kind while being cruel. Caleb ate in silence. That night, Evelyn lay in her small bed in her small room and listened to Vanessa laughing on the phone in the master bedroom. The house is perfect. She didn't fight us on anything. I know, right? She just rolled over. We'll be here as long as we need to be. Trust me, Mother. This is going to work out exactly how we planned. Evelyn stared at the ceiling, hands folded on her chest. Let them think they'd won. Let them get comfortable. Let them show her exactly who they were. Because 2 weeks ago, she'd signed papers making this house property of the Marston Family Foundation. They weren't guests in Evelyn's home. They were trespassers in Lila's inheritance. And when the time was right, Evelyn would show them the difference between hospitality and ownership. Outside, Walter's magnolia trees stood silent guard in the darkness. The takeover had begun, but so had the countdown. 3 days into their stay, Evelyn woke at 5 a.m. and dressed quietly. She slipped out of the house before anyone else stirred. Driving through the empty Savannah streets to Grant Holloway's office. He was waiting with coffee and a thick folder of documents. Everything's finalized, Grant said, spreading papers across his mahogany desk. The Marston Family Foundation is officially established and recorded with the state. $2 million in an irrevocable trust. Primary beneficiary Lila Marston. Evelyn traced the embossed letterhead with one finger. And the house? Property ownership transferred to the foundation 3 weeks ago. You're listed as trustee with full residential rights and control. Legally, you decide who lives there. They can't claim squatters' rights, can't argue adverse possession, can't do anything. What if they try to say I wasn't competent when I signed? Evelyn asked calmly. Grant smiled. We anticipated that. You had a full cognitive evaluation from Dr. James Chen at Savannah Memorial before any documents were signed. Perfect scores across the board. You also had a witness present, me. And everything was videotaped? Any claim of diminished capacity would be laughed out of court. He pulled out another document. The foundation structure also protects Lila's money from her parents. Even if something happened to you, even if Caleb or Vanessa got guardianship, they can't touch these funds. Lila gets access at 25, with education distributions at 18. Nobody else. Ever. Evelyn felt something loosen in her chest. When Walter died, I was so scared. Scared I'd lose everything we'd built. Scared I couldn't protect our legacy. She looked up at Grant, eyes clear. But this is protection. Real protection. Walter would be proud, Grant said quietly. He always said you were stronger than you looked. I'm learning, Evelyn said firmly. When she returned home, Vanessa was in the kitchen hosting a coffee date with 2 Atlanta friends. They'd helped themselves to Evelyn's good china, the set her mother had given her as a wedding gift. Oh, you're back, Vanessa said with fake sweetness. We didn't know where you'd gone. We were worried. No, they weren't. Just had some errands, Evelyn said without emotion. One of Vanessa's friends looked around the kitchen. Vanessa, when are you going to renovate? This whole house is screaming for an update. Tear down these walls, open concept, modern fixtures. Sooner than you think, Vanessa said, grinning. Much sooner. Evelyn poured herself coffee and joined them at the table, her table in her kitchen, though Vanessa acted like the hostess. Actually, Evelyn said calmly, I made some changes recently. Legal changes. Vanessa's cup stopped halfway to her lips. Legal changes? Estate planning, trusts, foundations, making sure everything's properly organized. Evelyn sipped her coffee. Boring paperwork, really. What kind of estate planning? Vanessa's voice had an edge now, sharp as a knife. Oh, you know, making sure my assets go to the right people, protecting my granddaughter's future. Evelyn smiled gently. Nothing you need to worry about, dear. But Vanessa was worrying. Her eyes had gone cold, calculating. After her friends left, Vanessa cornered Caleb in the hallway. Evelyn heard every word from her small bedroom. She did something with her estate. She mentioned trusts and foundations. What if she's cutting you out? Mom wouldn't do that, Caleb said, but his voice was uncertain. Your mother doesn't owe you anything. We need to be smart about this. I'm calling my mother. She'll know what to do. That night, Evelyn sat in her small room and looked at the documents Grant had given her. Everything was protected. Everything was safe. Lila appeared in the doorway, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Grandma, can I sleep with you? Mommy and Daddy are fighting again. Evelyn opened her arms, and Lila climbed into bed beside her. Why is Mommy so mean sometimes? Lila whispered. Some people forget how to be kind when they're scared, Evelyn said quietly but powerfully. But you remember, sweetheart, no matter what happens, you stay kind. Promise me. I promise. Lila snuggled closer. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby girl. More than you'll ever know. As Lila drifted to sleep, Evelyn stroked her hair and thought about the $2 million sitting in a foundation with Lila's name on it. Vanessa could plot. Patricia could scheme. They could try whatever they wanted. But they were already too late. The foundation was built. The walls were up. The fortress was complete. Now Evelyn just had to wait for them to reveal exactly how far they'd go. And she knew, with absolute certainty, they'd show her soon enough. The call came 2 days later. Evelyn was washing dishes when she heard Vanessa's voice from the living room, low and urgent. She made changes to her estate, Mother. She mentioned foundations and trusts. You need to come here. Now. We can't let her lock us out of everything. Evelyn's hands stilled in the soapy water. Patricia arrived the next morning in a gleaming black Escalade, stepping out in a power suit that probably cost more than Evelyn's monthly expenses. She was 60, polished, cold, Vanessa's future, 20 years down the line. She walked past Evelyn without a greeting. So, this is the house. Needs work, but the bones are good. Location's excellent. Probably worth 400,000, maybe more. Already appraising, already calculating. Mother, this is Evelyn, Vanessa said, her condescending tone on full display. Caleb's mom. Yes, we've met at the wedding. Patricia's handshake was brief, dismissive. Vanessa tells me you've been feeling confused lately, forgetful. Evelyn's blood went cold. Confused? I haven't been confused about anything. Patricia smiled like a shark. Of course not, dear. But at 70, it's natural to feel overwhelmed by legal matters. That's why families should help manage these things. Have you thought about giving Caleb power of attorney? So that was the plan. Power of attorney? Evelyn repeated carefully. Just in case something happened, Patricia continued, her voice dripping with fake concern. A fall. An illness. You'd want Caleb to be able to handle your affairs, wouldn't you? Pay bills, manage properties, make medical decisions? She made it sound so reasonable, so caring. But Evelyn heard the trap. I'll think about it, Evelyn said calmly. Over lunch, which Vanessa prepared in Evelyn's kitchen without asking, Patricia interrogated her gently. Questions about medications, about doctor visits, about whether she ever forgot appointments or misplaced things. Evelyn played along. She pretended to forget what room she was going to, laughed it off. Getting old, you know. Vanessa and Patricia exchanged glances. Excited, predatory. After lunch, Patricia walked through every room like a realtor, commenting on potential and improvements needed. You know, Evelyn, you'd be so much happier in a senior community. Activities, people your own age, medical staff on site. Caleb could manage this house properly, get it updated, maybe even sell it eventually and invest the money for your care. Evelyn smiled sweetly and said nothing. That afternoon, she went for a nap. In her small bedroom, she heard Patricia and Vanessa in the kitchen, voices low but carrying. She's showing clear signs, Patricia said, her voice clinical and cold. Memory lapses, confusion about basic legal concepts. We need to move fast. I know a doctor who specializes in geriatric assessments. We get her declared incompetent. Caleb gets conservatorship, and we control everything. What if she already changed her will? Vanessa asked. Then we challenge it. Undue influence, diminished capacity. I've done this before, sweetheart. These old ladies think they're being clever with their little estate plans, but they're no match for a good lawyer. Trust me. Evelyn lay perfectly still, heart pounding. They weren't just planning to take her money. They were planning to take her mind, her autonomy, her very self. 8-year-old Lila was at the dining table doing homework. She'd heard everything. When Evelyn came out, Lila ran to her, scared. "Grandma, what's conservatorship? Are you sick?" Evelyn knelt down, looking into her granddaughter's frightened eyes. "I'm perfectly healthy, sweetheart. Some people just don't like it when old ladies are stronger than they look." That night, Evelyn called Grant from her car, parked 3 blocks from the house. "They're planning to have me declared incompetent. Vanessa's mother mentioned a doctor." Grant's voice went sharp. "Do you know when?" "Soon. They're moving fast. Give me 24 hours. I'll have Dr. Chen on standby. And Evelyn, don't sign anything. Don't agree to any routine checkups. Nothing." "I won't," Evelyn said firmly. The next morning, Vanessa was all smiles at breakfast. "Great news. Mom arranged for a doctor to come do a home visit this afternoon. Dr. Morrison. He's a geriatric specialist. Just a routine senior wellness check." "Isn't that thoughtful?" She said it so brightly, so innocently. Evelyn smiled back. How kind of her to think of me. But she texted Grant immediately. "Dr. Morrison coming today, 2 p.m. His response: "I'll be there, with Dr. Chen. And police if needed. Don't worry." Evelyn put her phone away and made herself tea. Let them come with their paid-off doctor and their schemes. She'd survived worse than Patricia and Vanessa. And this time, she wasn't the helpless old lady they thought she was. This time, she was ready. Dr. Richard Morrison arrived at 2 p.m. in an expensive car, carrying a medical bag that looked barely used. He was 50s, slick, with a handshake that lingered too long on Patricia's hand. They knew each other. That much was obvious. "Mrs. Marston," he said, with exaggerated cheer. "I'm Dr. Morrison. Your family's concerned about you, so I'm here to do a quick wellness check. Nothing invasive, just some simple questions." Vanessa and Patricia positioned themselves on the couch like spectators at a show they'd already seen the ending to. Caleb sat in the corner, looking uncomfortable, but saying nothing. "Now, Evelyn? May I call you Evelyn?" Dr. Morrison's tone was patronizing, like speaking to a child. "Can you tell me what day it is?" Evelyn sat up straight, looked him dead in the eye. "Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2025. The president is whoever was elected last November. And if you're testing my memory rather than my politics, I can also tell you I had oatmeal for breakfast. My granddaughter's birthday is March 14th, and you parked illegally in front of Mrs. Chen's driveway across the street." Dr. Morrison's smile faltered. "Very good. Now, can you count backward from 100 by sevens? 93, 86, 79, 72, 65, 58, 51, 44, 37, 30, 23, 16, 9, 2. Evelyn didn't break eye contact. He tried different questions. Recent news events, medication interactions, complex calculations. Evelyn answered each one precisely. She even corrected him once on a dosage fact. "But doctor," Patricia interrupted, her voice sharp as a knife. "She's been showing signs of confusion. Forgetting things, getting disoriented. I saw it myself." Evelyn turned to her calmly. "I pretended to be confused, Patricia, to see what you would do. Apparently, you'd try to have me declared incompetent so you could steal my home." The room went silent. Vanessa's face flushed. We're not." A firm knock at the door cut her off. Grant Holloway walked in with another man, distinguished, 70, carrying an official medical bag with Savannah Memorial Hospital credentials. "I'm Dr. James Chen, Chief of Neurology at Savannah Memorial. I'm here for Mrs. Marston's scheduled evaluation." "We already have a doctor," Vanessa said, her voice rising. Grant pulled out documentation. Yes. How fortunate. Dr. Chen can review Dr. Morrison's findings. Unless, of course, Dr. Morrison's visit wasn't actually medical in nature. His voice was ice. Dr. Morrison suddenly remembered another appointment. He practically ran to his car. Patricia followed, both muttering excuses. Dr. Chen spent the next hour conducting a legitimate examination, memory tests, neurological assessments, cognitive function analysis. At the end, he signed official papers and handed them to Grant. Mrs. Marston is in excellent cognitive health. Perfect scores across all assessments. I'll file this report with the State Medical Board today. Any future attempts to claim otherwise would be fraudulent and subject to legal consequences. After they left, Vanessa stood frozen in the kitchen. For the first time, she looked genuinely scared. Caleb stared at his mother. You knew they were coming? You planned this? When someone tries to steal your mind, your dignity, your very self, Evelyn said quietly but powerfully, yes, you plan your defense. Vanessa's mask cracked. You think you're so smart, you miserable old woman. This changes nothing. You're going to die eventually, and when you do, enough! Caleb's voice shattered the air. He looked at Vanessa with horror. What is wrong with you? That's my mother. Do you hear yourself? Don't you dare take her side. Vanessa's voice was pure venom now, cold and sharp. She's manipulating you. She's probably already cut you out of everything. Can't you see what she's doing? Caleb looked between them, something breaking in his eyes. The only thing I see clearly is that I don't recognize the woman I married. That night, the house phone rang. Vanessa answered. Marston Residence, she said automatically. The voice on the other end was professional, formal. This is Robert Sinclair from Coastal Trust Management. I need to schedule a meeting with Mrs. Evelyn Marston regarding the Marston Family Foundation documentation. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's time to make everything official. Vanessa's face drained of all color. She hung up slowly, hand shaking. Who was that? Patricia demanded. Someone from a trust management company. About a foundation. They're coming tomorrow. Evelyn sat in her small room, listening to them panic in the kitchen, their voices rising. Patricia making calls to lawyers. Vanessa crying. She looked at the documents Grant had left her. Foundation certificates, property transfers, trust agreements. They'd tried to steal her mind. They'd failed. Now they were about to discover they'd already lost everything else. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., the truth would arrive in a grey suit with a leather briefcase. And there would be nowhere left for Vanessa to hide. Evelyn woke before dawn. She dressed in her best Sunday dress, the blue one Walter had always loved, and made breakfast for Lila, humming softly. In the background, she could hear Vanessa on the phone, voice panicked and sharp as a knife. Mother, some trust manager is coming at 10. What does it mean? What do we do? Patricia had arrived at 7, looking haggard. They sat in the kitchen drinking coffee, whispering urgently, casting glances at Evelyn like she was a bomb about to explode. At exactly 10 a.m., a grey sedan pulled into the driveway. Robert Sinclair stepped out, mid-50s, impeccable suit, carrying a leather briefcase. He knocked once, and Evelyn opened the door. Mrs. Marston, good morning. I'm here to finalize documentation for the Marston Family Foundation. Vanessa appeared in her bathrobe, eyes wild. Patricia stood behind her, arms crossed. They all moved to the dining room. Robert set his briefcase on the table with a crisp click. I'm Robert Sinclair from Coastal Trust Management. I'm here to provide Mrs. Marston with official trust certificates and foundation documentation. Foundation? Vanessa's voice was shrill. What foundation? Robert glanced at her mildly. The charitable trust Mrs. Marston established 7 weeks ago. Surely she mentioned it. He began laying out documents with methodical precision. As recorded here, Mrs. Evelyn Marston sold coastal property for $2 million. Those proceeds have been transferred into the Marston Family Foundation, an irrevocable charitable trust. The colour drained from Vanessa's face. $2 million? Patricia's coffee cup clattered to the table. The primary beneficiary is Miss Lila Marston, age 8. Robert continued without emotion. She receives full access to trust funds at age 25, with educational distributions beginning at 18. Mrs. Evelyn Marston serves as sole trustee until that time. The trust is irrevocable, Robert explained. It cannot be changed, dissolved, or accessed by anyone except the designated beneficiary according to established terms. No other parties, including parents, have legal authority over these funds. Caleb, silent until now, finally spoke. His voice cracked. Mum, you had $2 million? This whole time? We lost our house. I lost my job. You watched us struggle and said nothing. Evelyn looked at her son, sadness and strength in her eyes. I was going to help you, Caleb. Give you a fresh start when the time was right. But then I saw what your wife turned you into, and I realized giving you money wouldn't save you. It would just make Vanessa richer while destroying what little character you had left. Vanessa's hands shook. That money should be ours. Robert pulled out another document. There's one additional matter. Mrs. Marston has transferred ownership of this property, 128 Magnolia Drive, to the Marston Family Foundation. Complete silence. As sole trustee, Mrs. Marston retains full residential control, including determining occupancy. I've been instructed to deliver formal 60-day notices to vacate the premises to Mr. Caleb Marston and Mrs. Vanessa Marston. Vanessa lunged forward, screaming, You can't do this. You can't evict your own son. This is illegal. The front door opened. Grant Holloway walked in with 2 police officers. Everything is completely legal, I assure you, Grant said calmly. The foundation was established before you moved in, with multiple witnesses, independent medical evaluations, and comprehensive documentation of Mrs. B. Marston's sound mind. Patricia stood, voice icy and cold. We'll challenge every bit of this. Undue influence, diminished capacity, fraud. We'll tie this up in courts for years. Grant handed her a thick folder. You're welcome to try, but you'll find the trust was established months before any supposed influence. Dr. Chen's evaluation is on file, and I have recordings of you discussing plans to fraudulently have Mrs. Marston declared incompetent. The State Bar would be very interested. Patricia's face turned ashen. Vanessa whirled on Caleb, desperate and sharp as a knife. Say something. Defend us. This is your inheritance. She's giving your money to a child. Fight for your family. Caleb looked at his mother, really looked at her for the first time in years. Then at Vanessa, then at Lila, crying in the corner. Which family should I fight for, Vanessa? His voice was barely a whisper. The room held its breath. The moment stretched like glass about to shatter. Vanessa stared at Caleb, expecting him to fall in line like always. Patricia watched with calculating eyes. Grant stood ready with legal papers. The police officers waited. And Evelyn just watched, heart pounding, wondering if any part of the boy she raised still existed. You wanted me to fight for you, Caleb said, his voice growing stronger. But when did you ever fight for her? When did you show my mother even basic respect? Vanessa's mouth opened. Caleb, what are you? She's your mother! Vanessa shrieked, her voice cold and venomous. She's supposed to help us. That's what mothers do. Caleb's laugh was bitter. Help us? She would have helped me. Before you. Before you poisoned everything with your greed. She would have given me anything. But you turned me into someone who takes instead of earns. Someone who stands silent while his wife destroys the woman who raised him. Baby, think about Lila. Vanessa tried, switching to fake sweetness. Your mother is choosing money over family. Don't you dare use Lila as a shield. Caleb's voice cracked. Mom chose Lila over us because Lila is the only one in this house who still has a soul. Patricia stepped forward. Caleb, you're emotional. Your mother is manipulating. My mother spent 50 years being manipulated. Caleb cut her off firmly. Being used. Being treated like nothing. And you know what? She's the strongest person in this room. She survived Dad's death, raised me alone, and still had enough grace to welcome you into her home after you called her broke and useless. Something in Vanessa snapped. That money was supposed to be ours. We moved in here. We waited. We put up with this dusty house and her pathetic cooking and her boring stories. That fortune should be ours. Even Patricia looked horrified. Waited? Evelyn's voice cut through like a blade. You moved in here to wait for me to die? Vanessa's eyes widened, realizing too late. I didn't mean… Yes, you did, Caleb said, his voice dead. You said it to me last month. Old people don't last forever. Your exact words. He turned to Evelyn, tears streaming down his face. Mum, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was weak. I let her treat you horribly. I became someone Dad would be ashamed of. He took a shaking breath. I don't want the money. What I want, what I need, is your help becoming the man Dad raised me to be. Not with money, with guidance. Help me remember who I was before I became this. Caleb, no. Vanessa's voice was pure panic now, sharp and desperate. You're choosing her over me. Caleb looked at Vanessa, really saw her for the first time. You're not my wife anymore. You're a stranger wearing her face. The woman I loved would never treat anyone the way you've treated my mother. I'm filing for divorce. I'm getting custody of Lila. And you can go back to Atlanta and find some other family to destroy. Vanessa lunged at him, screaming incoherently. Patricia grabbed her. The police officers stepped forward. Caleb? Evelyn said quietly but powerfully. Everyone stopped. I'll help you. But here are my terms. You leave Vanessa. You file for divorce immediately. You get custody of Lila. I'll pay for the lawyer. I'll loan you $5,000 for an apartment. You'll pay it back, with interest, on whatever schedule you can manage. You get any job you can find, no matter how humble, and you rebuild yourself the way your father would want. Caleb nodded, unable to speak. Get out, he said to Vanessa, his voice quiet but final. Get out of my mother's house. Now. You'll regret this, Vanessa shrieked, her voice cold and vicious. Both of you. I'll take you for everything in the divorce. I'll make sure you never see Lila again. Grant stepped forward calmly. Try it. And every judge in Georgia will know you moved into your mother-in-law's home planning to have her declared incompetent to steal her assets. Try it. And I'll make sure the word elder abuse follows you everywhere. Try it. And you'll lose everything. Vanessa's face crumpled. Patricia was already pulling her toward the door, both of them making threats that sounded increasingly hollow. Within an hour, they were gone. The house was silent. Caleb sat at the kitchen table, head in his hands. Lila climbed into Evelyn's lap, holding tight. Is Mummy coming back? Lila whispered. Not to live here, sweetheart. Evelyn said gently. But you'll still see her. She's still your mother. I don't want to see her, Lila said firmly. She was mean to you, and Daddy, and me. Caleb looked up, tears streaming. Mum, I'm so sorry. For everything. Evelyn reached across the table and took his hand. Then show me. Show me by becoming the man your father raised. Show me by raising Leela with love and strength. Show me it wasn't too late to save you. It's not too late, Caleb said quietly but powerfully. I promise you, Mom, it's not too late. Outside, Walter's magnolia trees swayed in the afternoon breeze. The battle wasn't quite over, but the war had been won. 3 months later, Evelyn sat on her porch swing with Lila, watching magnolia blossoms dance in the spring breeze. The house was peaceful again, decorated exactly how she wanted, filled with the smell of fresh peach cobbler cooling on the counter. Walter's furniture was back in the living room, proud and unashamed. Caleb visited every Sunday, bringing groceries and helping with yard work. He'd gotten a job as a construction supervisor, humble work, but honest. He was living in a small apartment across town, paying Evelyn back $50 a month from the $5,000 she'd loaned him. The divorce was finalized last week. Vanessa had tried to fight for full custody. Grant made one phone call to her lawyer, mentioning the words elder abuse and incompetency fraud. Vanessa settled for supervised visitation every other weekend. She'd moved back to Atlanta with Patricia. No job, mounting legal fees, a reputation as the woman who tried to steal from her elderly mother-in-law. Her designer lifestyle had crumbled without Caleb's income and the fortune she'd expected to inherit. Grandma, Lila said, leaning against her, Daddy says there's money waiting for me when I grow up. Is that true? It is, sweetheart, Evelyn said gently. Your Grandpa Walter left you a gift. But money isn't what makes you rich. Love is. Respect is. Knowing who you are, that's worth more than anything in a bank. Lila nodded seriously. Daddy says he's learning that too. Evelyn smiled. Caleb was changing. Slowly. Some days he slipped back into old patterns, passive, afraid to speak up. But more often now she saw glimpses of the boy Walter had raised. Strong, principled, kind. The Marston Family Foundation had grown beyond just Lila's trust. With Grant's help, Evelyn established a program helping elderly people protect themselves from financial abuse. She spoke at community centers, sharing her story, teaching others to recognize the warning signs. You're helping so many people, Grant had told her last week. Walter would be so proud. One Sunday, Caleb sat with her after Lila had gone to play outside. Mom, I need to say something. He took a deep breath. I let you down. I let Dad down. I became someone I don't recognize because I was too scared to stand up to her. Evelyn took his hand. But you stood up eventually. That's what matters. Your father always said courage isn't never being afraid. It's being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. Do you forgive me? Caleb asked quietly. I'm working on it, Evelyn said honestly. Forgiveness isn't something that happens all at once. It's like your father's magnolia trees. It grows slowly, but it grows strong. Caleb nodded, tears in his eyes. That's fair. That's more than fair. Later, Evelyn sat alone as sunset painted the sky orange and pink. She could almost feel Walter beside her, his hand in hers, proud of the quiet storm she'd become when she needed to be. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Mrs. Marston, my name is Rebecca Chen. My daughter-in-law is trying to do to me what Vanessa did to you. I heard you speak at the community center. Please, can you help me? I don't know what to do. Evelyn stared at that message, then looked at Walter's photo on the table beside her. She typed back, Rebecca, I can help. Let me tell you what I learned about protecting yourself. Can you meet tomorrow at 2 p.m.? The response came immediately. Yes, thank you. You have no idea what this means. Evelyn set down her phone and rocked gently on the swing Walter had built 40 years ago. They'd called her broke and useless, but she'd taught them the most valuable lesson of all. Never underestimate a grandmother's love, or her fury when that love is betrayed. She'd protected Lila's future. She'd given Caleb a chance at redemption. She'd reclaimed her dignity and her home. And now, she was helping others do the same. Her fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. Watch over them, Walter, she whispered to the evening air. Watch over all of us. And thank you for that land everyone said was worthless. You always knew. You always saw what others couldn't. Inside the house, Lila was laughing. Caleb was helping her with homework at the kitchen table, the same table where Evelyn had fed him breakfast every morning for 18 years. The cycle was continuing, but this time, with wisdom, with strength, with boundaries that protected love instead of enabling cruelty. Outside, the magnolia trees stood tall in the fading light, their blossoms full and fragrant. Evelyn closed her eyes and smiled. The quiet old lady had learned to roar, and the world was better for it. Evelyn didn't just win. She started a movement protecting grandmothers everywhere. If this story moved you, subscribe so you never miss stories about justice, revenge, and the power of quiet strength. Comment below. Did Evelyn do the right thing? Would you have given Caleb a second chance? Or was she too forgiving? And if you know someone being financially abused by family, share this video. It might save their future. Remember, don't be like Caleb in the beginning. Don't stay silent when you see injustice. Hit that like button if you're standing with grandmas who refuse to be broken. Hit subscribe if you believe in protecting the people who can't always protect themselves. And hit that notification bell so you never miss a story about people who fought back and won. Because sometimes the quietest people make the loudest impact. What would you have done in Evelyn's shoes? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. In the meantime, on the final screen, I'm leaving you with two of the channel's most beloved stories. I'm sure they will surprise you. Thank you for staying with me until now.